Center for the Ethiopian Educational Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on the difference between truth and myth. In our last lesson, we learned about how reading helps us to gain more knowledge. We talked about the importance of developing good reading habits so that we can accumulate more knowledge and become more literate. We also discussed some different techniques for reading, including joining a book club or keeping a reading journal. In this lesson, we will study the difference between truth and myth and how to know when something is mythical or factual. This will be a very interesting lesson, students, and I am eager to begin. Firstly, let us begin by defining some key terms for this lesson. Students, please write down a definition of truth. Then write down a definition of myth. Think carefully.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, teacher. Welcome back, students. This was not very easy to do, was it? This is because we often have an unformed or vague idea of the meaning of truth and myth, and we do not always know how to put it into words. Let us define them now. Truth can be defined as something that is a proven fact. Facts reveal the true nature of reality because they are not based upon hearsay or opinion, but rather they are objective. Facts are often obtained through scientific investigation. Knowledge is based upon facts. On the other hand, myth can be defined as traditional cultural beliefs that are not based upon empirical evidence. A myth is something that is difficult to prove. Usually, a myth is a story that has symbolic meaning, but it is not rooted in scientific fact. Students, we know that facts are essential to knowledge. What do you think is the importance of myth? Work with a partner to answer this question. Make sure you write down your answers.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, everyone. Myths are important because they are stories that humans tell to explain their understanding of the meaning of life and of their place in the world. Every civilization has its own set of myths. Often, myths are organized in a system in which one story is connected to another story. These systems of stories are called mythologies. They can be very complex and sophisticated, explaining a culture's worldview. Humans tell myths to explain the origins of the world and of humanity. Myths explain the special connection that humans have with the natural world. Historically, myths were used to help people to imagine the unknown, such as uncharted lands or strange and frightening creatures. Myths are related to symbols, and they help humans to explain their understanding of the world. They are also closely related to tradition. For example, some ancient cultures would perform a dance after the hunters brought home the animals they had caught. This dance would signify giving thanks to the gods for the food. Some cultures have traditional rituals of Thanksgiving, and these rituals stem from myth. Some myths become so deeply rooted in a culture that people believe the stories to be factual or true. One example of such a story in Ethiopia is the story of the relationship between the Queen of Sheba and Solomon, leading to the birth of Menelik. This story is intertwined with the history of Ethiopia. However, it is very difficult for historians to prove that the story is true. Even if it cannot be factually proven, the story is still important and valuable because it is related to Ethiopia's cultural identity. Sometimes myths are proven to be wrong. Let us do an activity to help us to think about how certain myths are disproven. Students, suppose people believe that the world is flat, and they tell stories about people falling off the edge of the world. If you wanted to prove that this is a myth and not the truth, what would you do? Please form small groups of 4 or 5 to discuss this question.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, teacher. Welcome back, students. I hope you enjoyed your discussions. If you wanted to disprove the myth that the world is flat, you could try several different things. You could sail around the world in a ship, or fly in an airplane, thus proving that the world is round. You and a friend from across the world could meet one another halfway, thus proving again that the world is round. Another idea is to watch a ship sail over the horizon. You will see it sink out of sight as it moves over the curve of the world. You could also fly up to space. The further away you get from Earth, the more visible the curvature of the Earth will become, as you can see here. Myths can be very inspiring. However, it is important to be able to differentiate between fact and myth. This video shows United Nations leaders using their knowledge and wisdom. As you know, knowledge is based on facts, and it is essential for a country's development. Knowledge empowers citizens and leads to social improvements. Therefore, knowing the difference between truth and myth is important for development. Myth helps us to understand the meaning of life, and truth helps us to make wise decisions for the future of the nation. Knowledge and truth are essential for making positive changes in society. Students, in this lesson, we have discussed the difference between truth and myth. We have learned about the ways in which myths can be valuable and meaningful. We have learned about the importance of being able to tell the difference between truth and myth. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.